life and leadership coach. I started my coach journey in 2019 and it has been a whirlwind. I started my practice earlier in 2020 and I'm enjoying every second of it. I was born in Cairo and then raised in the UK, and then I came to the US for higher education. So I had this very international lens that I'm super grateful for that informed the way that I looked at the world. And one of the things that I noticed, no matter where I was this idea of living a good life. How do you live a good life? How do you be happy? Because it seemed like everybody was grappling with that and reading books about it and asking people about it. But there was still the struggle of getting there. How do you arrive at that place of living a really good life and a fulfilled life? And so through that experience and going through my college years, I was doing the same thing. I was like, I've got to figure this out. What's the key here? And it wasn't till I found coaching that I realized that it's all within us. We need that inner trust to help move and propel ourselves forward in finding that fulfillment. And then from there, I've just been consuming everything that the coaching industry has to offer to keep informing that. And that's how I came to where I'm at now as a owner of a coaching practice, and I'm pursuing my ICF credentials, and that is, in a nutshell, my story. It's one of those stories that I feel like the universe was pointing very hard in one direction and I was looking the other way. So I had multiple friends and family members in my life in the span of about 6 weeks say, you would make a good coach. Have you ever thought about that? And in my mind, I was like, sure, okay, whatever. Isn't that, somebody who didn't have the chops to be a therapist or, is just a cheerleader and tells you how awesome you are. So I didn't pursue it for a long time until I had so many people in such a short amount of time say, you should check this out. So then I started my research journey. I signed up to be coached by someone, and I couldn't believe my first experience of being coached. I was totally floored. It was the most impactful conversation I'd had in years, and it was an hour long. I felt like I could fly when I walked out of the room. And so I signed up for a coach training course 3 days later, CTEDU, and it has been such an incredible journey ever since. And it's not what I thought it was. That I think that's the biggest thing, is that I didn't know what coaching really was until I experienced it, and then I learned how to do it. I think there's this common misconception around what a coach could be or is, and it's just not what I thought it was at all. It's really a space for powerful exploration, and the process is so simple, but it's so powerful. So that's my inspiration to become a coach. Yeah, so I started my business in early 2020. And I coach primarily women. I have a soft spot for empowering women. So my slogan is helping women rise. And that can mean a different thing for each woman. My intention is that if I can empower individual women to go make their impact on the world in their own way, that's literally making the world a better place. Like, how incredible is that? So the piece that I tend to coach around the most is that push and pull that you see between one part of you that's seeking comfortability, security, responsibility, and then that call for adventure or risk or innovation, and exploring that gap between maybe what's holding you back and what calls to you most. So I am primarily coaching one-on-one right now. I hope to have group programs available in the future, though I was encouraged by my CTEDU instructor to really hone the skill set of one-on-one coaching and master that before trying to do it all. And so that is what I'm doing right now, and I'm loving every second of it. My vision is that in the future, I will be helping groups of women through coaching programs that I developed from the ground up. I've been hugely impacted by Tara Sophia Moore's work. She wrote Playing Big, and I was in her program and doing something that is similar to that and in the programming space, facilitation. And then my big dream is I would love to run leadership retreats for women. I'd love to create spaces for an intensive coaching experience, an immersive experience where you go away for a week or a weekend with all these other women who are struggling with the same things, and creating that space to make transformation happen in a community. And I think that's where a lot of that impact, that ripple effect, and that echo can just really amplify even more so than one-on-one coaching, but having that still be the foundation of the business. I would say get coached. Find an opportunity. Usually coaches have, a complimentary call so you can get an understanding of what it's like to be coached. I think for me, that was the most impactful thing. It was this idea that I didn't quite understand and thought it sounded interesting, but I didn't know really what it was until I experienced it. So that's the first piece. The second piece is get trained. I think that there's this idea sometimes that you can just move from doing whatever you're doing to become a coach, and you can do that. Though the skills that you get through a training program, the network that you build, the classmates that you have is just so impactful. And it really up levels your skill set so much more quickly than if you try and go it alone. And then also making sure that the program is credentialed. So it's if you want to pursue that as a full-time career, then making sure it's accredited by the ICF, and that you have the ability to get those credentials. I would say that the compare and despair mindset is so easy to fall into when you're younger. And I heard a phrase a while back that I love. It's so true, but the phrase is stop shoulding all over yourself. So this idea of that inner critic that's always there saying you should do X, you should be Y, is something that everybody struggles with. And I don't think I realized that until I was older and when I was trained in coaching. But instead of getting lost in that compare and despair, get curious about it. Inquire, where is that coming from? Who is this coming from? And see where that leads you. I think that's kind of the basis of self-coaching, is starting that self-inquiry and seeing what comes up instead of relying on the outside noise that we get all the time. And that's really where that comparing can really come into play and cause some negativity that we don't need. Through the process and the container that is set through coaching, that safety that we have and that mutual relationship that you have with your coach, it's like magic. It's the conversations that you have, the insights that you have, the self-discovery, the transformation that happens inside of that through simple tools such as powerful listening is so impactful that you can't even put words to it, I feel like. And I'm actually going to change my answer. So coaching to me, this sounds so cheesy now, but to me it means magic. in my 20s, earlier on, I felt like I had to do everything, experience everything, and be everything all at the same time, and then also figure out life and do it right. And I think that there's a universality to that. And when I came to coaching, I felt like I was in this frenzy of like, how do I figure this out and do it right? And coaching pulled out of me this ability to trust what's there already instead of looking to other people for the answers. And so to extrapolate on the impact, I don't know if I can really put words to it, but my whole life has changed. I have a coaching business. I talk about coaching all the time. I attend workshops. I network with other coaches. So there's the community piece, but then there's also just the way that my life has changed over the last 2 years. And a little fun impact that coaching's had is the future self exercise that I did. I visualized myself with this haircut, and I chopped off my hair a couple weeks ago to match my future self. So that's an outward impact of it. But I feel like it reflects the change that I've undergone internally. And that sounds kind of cheesy, but it's true. It's absolutely accurate. I learned that I am a type 7 through and through on the core motivation / the Enneagram. And just knowing that, it allows me to understand why I make certain decisions or think in certain ways in a way that's different from other people. I think there's this notion that we all need to think in a certain way, or that we all do think similarly. And once you have the power of knowing how you think and where it came from, it is just, it's really empowering. You get to know yourself a little bit better in that way. And I'm forgetting what the question was. What did I learn about myself? Yeah, I also realized that I had a lot of limiting beliefs. And it's easy to be in a coaching session and spot it with somebody else, but then to have it reflected back on you when you're in those training sessions is incredibly powerful. And the limiting beliefs and busting them, oh my gosh, there's so much energy that comes from that. And there's so much more action that you can take from a place of self-trust that you didn't have before, because you had these beliefs floating around in your head that you didn't even know about. So I definitely had a lot about starting a business. And look at me now. I've got a successful coaching practice, and I love it. And it's still a little bit scary, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It helped me in so many ways. So my instructor, Carol Keith, was an open book. She would always make sure that there was time during our trainings to ask questions. And it could be about techniques, but it could also be, how do I start? How do I do the business part of it? So she was an incredible resource to help us navigate that. And one piece of advice that she gave our class was that don't niche yourself too soon. So a lot of times that's all the marketing material out there. It's like, you gotta have a niche, you gotta have a tagline, you gotta figure this out. But in order to become the most impactful coach that you can be, experience true coaching without pigeonholing yourself. So I thought that was really great advice. And then also in my oh my gosh, what's it called? The overviews. Yes. Raj Anderson was my trainer for the overviews. And again, she was an open book. So I would ask her any and all of my questions, and she would always have amazing answers. And then on top of that, there's the community, there's the classmates, there's the resources within the class itself. I could go on and on, but there's so many resources when it comes to that piece of it. So, yeah. A couple women. First, Tara Sophia Moore. So she wrote Playing Big and is a coach herself and has these incredible tools and way of approaching helping women to play bigger with their lives. So she is someone that I follow closely. And then another coach that's in the Portland community that I follow very closely, her name is Andrea Lita, and she runs a boutique coaching practice, and she really goes through the core, kind of the pure coaching space. Sometimes there can be bells and whistles on other coaching practices, and she really keeps it the pure coaching space, and is an incredible woman. So those are a couple of my big influencers right now. I would say that it was my high school philosophy teacher. His name is Mr. Huff, and he had long hair and wore snakeskin cowboy boots, and and this was at a private school in England, so everybody's got, he's totally out there when it came to, a teacher's standard look. And he was super impactful as a teacher and as a leader because he was teaching philosophy. He taught me how to think in a different way and think outside the box and approach things critically, which is an incredible skill set. But the other thing is he taught me how to be the most authentic version of yourself, and that's huge, especially when you're in high school and you've got peer pressure, you're trying to figure out who you are. And he, especially with the way that he approached his hair, he played in rock bands, like he was just the coolest dude, and he was a teacher. So Mr. Huff, shout out to him.